What's happening?
Hi.
It's been a minute since we last did a video, but work has been a little bit crazy, and we're about to jump into the festival season, so it's only going to get crazier.
Which is why we both look so tired.
I'm not tired.
He's exhausted.
Anyway, start with an update. How you living?
Doing well. Finally made it down to 134. I'm officially 35 pounds down. So I'm halfway to my goal. Well, a little more than half. I have 20. My next goal is 125, which is just 10 pounds away, obviously. Well, 9 pounds away. So that's doing well. A couple inches off my waist, a couple inches off my hips, a couple inches off my bust. Arms and legs stay the same. Super skinny. Never gain weight in those.
Yeah. I'm down to, well, I was down to 215, but I had another off day where I ate what I wanted, and I'm back up to about 218.
Don't let him lie. 2 days.
Okay, so it's 2 days. So I'm back up to 218, but I'm still down 20 some odd inches. I'm sorry, 318.
Yeah, 218.
318. Yeah, 218 is where I want to be. 318, and I've lost altogether, like I said, about 25 inches around my gut. Everything fits like it's belonging to somebody else who is bigger and fatter than I was.
Which is great because everybody's having sales right now. So it's been really nice getting him new stuff and having him be excited about wearing clothes again and not just hiding in
It's nice to be able to wear my suit stuff and all the rest of that kind of stuff so that I can get dressed up and look pretty.
He does look pretty when he dresses up.
Today we're going to talk about macros. We have a new follower that had asked us whether or not we were using macros, and yes, we use our macros every single day. And there are many calculators out there online to help you figure your macros, but
always make sure that it's a keto macro calculator because there is a difference between a regular one and a keto one.
Right. But what we're going to do today is teach you how to go about doing this all on your own and figuring out your BMR and your multipliers, and then finding out your BMR all the way around, your basal metabolic rate, so that you can figure out what your daily caloric intake should be and what your macros will be.
But there are ones online that you can use if you don't feel like doing all that. The thing about macros, real quick, and I'm sorry because he has a bunch of stuff on it, and really I can't even understand most of it, is it's different for everybody. The percentages work with your body differently. It really just depends on you. So if the 70, 25, 5 isn't working, try doing 65.
You'll have to adjust your own macros as you go along based on how your body's reacting to them. It's suggested that you change your percentages as you go along. Once you become fat adapted, you can add more carbs if you'd like to. It's entirely a choice. We've done very well without the carbs. And
I've done super well without carbs.
Right.
I think like once a week I put a little bit in some vegetables in with my stuff, but that's pretty much it.
So, again, you can adjust them as you go along. Base it on how you feel. I mean, again, you can do a keto diet without doing macros. You can just eat, low carb without checking every single thing that you do. It's just important that you go with how you feel. If you're feeling bad, add one thing or subtract one thing. Don't change everything all at once because you'll never know what it was that was making you feel bad in the first place. It's important that you work these things piece by piece.
I'm sorry, and I told him I wouldn't do this to him. But a lot of people, especially women, all the different Reddit groups and things like that I
read.
Yeah, I don't necessarily participate other than say, yay, good job. say, they realize they have allergies to things that that they're lactose intolerant, that they're dairy intolerant, and like total dairy, things like that. So you may find that there were issues with your body that you didn't even know of that were keeping you heavier. So that's actually kind of interesting too. So keep an eye out for that.
So to kick this off, what we're looking at is macros, and macros is just a shortening of the word macronutrients. And the macronutrients that the keto diet is concerned with are fat, protein, and carbohydrates. When it comes right down to it, to stay inside a ketogenic range, they suggest, and again, this is however you feel, if you're doing better, higher or lower, it's all good. But based on the ketogenic diet principles, they're suggesting that you go from 60 to 75% of your calories from fat, 15 to 30% of your calories from protein, and 5 to 10% of your calories from carbohydrates. Now, the one thing about the carbohydrates on the ketogenic diet that it says is try not to go over 50 grams of of net carbohydrates per day, because it will hinder your ketosis and your fat adaptation. If you're not fat adapted, if you're not in ketosis, the point of the ketogenic diet is completely lost on you, because without that factoring in, you don't get the fat burning effect of the ketogenic diet. So at least at first, until you figure out what you're doing, make sure that you keep your carbohydrates under 50 grams a day. Now, the calories are going to be based on whatever the 50 grams is going to base what the calories are. But again, to start out, most of the time they suggest that you go from 5 to 10% of your calories being carbohydrates. So a lot of times it never gets close enough to 50 grams to really make you have to worry about it. I think
the most I've ever had was, but then again, how many, when you started out, do you remember?
I don't know when I started. I could look it up.
I have it written down.
If anybody wants to know, by all means, put a note.
Personally, I've never been over 18 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
In my macros. It's never been recommended for me. Now, keep in mind, I am super short. So, I know it looks like I'm not sitting down here. I'm a foot smaller, at least, than him. So,
in order to find what your macros are going to be, you first have to find your BMR, and that's your basal metabolic rate. Basically, what that means is that it's the energy that you use while you're resting. So, just to pump your blood and to make your lungs function and to keep your brain moving, you're going to expend a certain amount of calories or energy every single day just making those physical things happen without during your subconscious states. You don't even have to know that it's happening. You're going to breathe, you're going to blink, you're going to, your blood's going to pump. Hopefully. Now first, step one, in order to find your basic basal metabolic rate, there's a formula, and men and women have different formulas. Men, the formula is 1 times your body weight in kilograms times 24. For women, it's 0.9 times your body weight in kilograms times 24. In order to get kilograms, you take your weight in pounds, multiply it by 2.2, and that will give you, divide it by 2.2, and that will give you your weight in kilograms. Step 2 is that you take step 1 and set it aside for a second, and you have to use multipliers, and the multipliers are based on your body fat percentage. Now, your body fat percentage can be calculated, again, anywhere online that you like, or you can take caliper measurements, or you can take tape measurements and do the division neck to waist to thigh or hip or whatever it is.
I had no idea you could do it that way.
There's several different ways to get your body fat.
My machine do it.
The easiest way is to certainly do a calculator online. But for the multipliers, for men and women, they have different categories, again, that equal out to a certain multiplier. For men, if they're very fit, in the range of 10 to 14% body fat, and for women who are very fit, in the range of like 14 to 18% body fat, your multiplier is 1.0. For men who are slightly active, with a body fat percentage of 15 to 20%, and women who are slightly active with a body fat percentage of 19 to 28%, the multiplier is 0.95. Men who are less active and have a body fat percentage between 21 and 28%. Women who are less active with a body fat percentage of 29 to 38%, the multiplier is 0.90. And men who are over 29% fat, which is considered sedentary and obese, the multiplier is 0.085, not 0.85, 0.85. And women over 39% body fat, the multiplier is 0.85. Once you have those, what you do is you take the number that you got in step one, your 1 or 0.9 times your body weight in kilograms times 24, you multiply it by your multiplier, either 1, 0.0, 0.95, 0.8, or 0.90, or 0.85, and that gives you your BMR, okay? Once you know your BMR, you can divide your calories into your macros, okay? And again, it's a little bit of a drawn out thing, but let's just use an example of somebody that can take in 2,000 calories a day. The basal metabolic rate is 2,000 calories per day. If you want to lose weight, you have to consume less than those 2,000 calories a day. So any deficit or increase your activity, but you have to expend more than 2,000 calories a day in order to lose weight. And to gain weight, you would have to take in more than 2,000 calories a day and not let your activity levels exceed or put it under 2,000 calories a day in order to gain weight. Now, having said all of that, experts say that you should not do a deficit of more than 30% of your basal metabolic rate. Okay. Having said that, we'll just leave that at that. Let's just say that some of us don't listen to that, and it's been working very well.
Not that we're recommending that for
no,
anybody.
please don't. Don't do anything and consult your doctor.
You.
Consult your doctor in anything that you do.
We are not doctors. We are not telling you to do this. We are simply saying.
We are simply obsessive.
Yeah, we've said that before.
So what you do then is, like I said, we're going to use a 2,000 calorie BMR. We'll put this out there and say that if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to take a 20% deficit from your 2,000 calorie BMR.
And some of the calculators that you find online, you can actually choose what your percentage is going to be.
It'll
up
do this
to
for you.
30%. And it'll even show you a graph. I can't remember which one, but one of them has a graph on it that'll tell you, like, over a period of time about what you'll be losing, which is really exciting.
Especially if you're meeting those goals, short term. So if we're using a 20% deficit at 2,000 calories a day, which is a very high deficit, and it may not be attainable right away because, when you're already doing something different, your body's trying to adapt to the fat burning process and all the rest of that. It may not be.
The recommendation is 5% in the beginning, 5 to 10% for comfortable,
right?
For comfort reasons.
I did 20% because the math was easier. So 20% of 2,000 calories is 1,600 calories a day. If you're looking at 1,600 calories a day, then what you have to do is you have to divide 1,600 calories by the percentages that you have decided to go with to become ketogenic, or to put yourself in ketosis. Again, for simplicity of the math, I did 70, 20, and 10. 70% fats, 20% proteins, and 10% carbs.
Real quick, these percentages, we don't really stick to ours very well. As long as we're within a range, as long as we're within the range that we would like to be, we're fine. And we didn't start off that way. We did start off being super, super, super regimented, crazy about ours, and maybe that has something to do with the slowdown on weight loss. But
over time, it's become a little more difficult to stay as regimented with the work schedules that we've had. So I'm taking the easy way out and saying that we've had a few factors that have kind of contributed to the fact that we can't stick to the macros 100% the way we were in the very beginning.
But the weight is still coming off, so please don't.
Yeah, so don't mistake the fact that you can do this without having to worry about it. But again, 1,600 calories a day. We're doing 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carbohydrates.
Fat is a goal.
That's a goal. Yeah, you always want to try for your fat percentages. And you have to make sure that your protein percentages don't get too high, because protein turns to sugar when you eat it in excess. So having said that, 1,600 calories divided by times 70% gives you 1,120 calories of fat a day. It will give you 320 calories of protein a day and 160 calories of carbohydrates a day. You divide the calorie amounts by the energy per gram that each macronutrient gives you. The energy per gram of fat is 9 grams of fat per 1 calorie. For protein and carbohydrates both, it's 4 grams per calorie of energy. So another little calculation is your fat percentage is 1,120 grams of calories of fat divided by 9 gives you 124 grams of fat per day. 320 calories divided by 4 grams.
That would be your calories for your protein, the 320.
Right. The 320 is your calories for your protein. Divided by 4, because it's 4 grams per calorie, gives you 80 grams of carbohydrates a day.
No, that was protein.
I'm sorry, protein. And yeah, it's confusing.
It's really not. He's explaining this is really much more difficult than when you sit down to actually do it. And you don't even have to be a person that does math. Like I said, I mean, you can find calculators. And once you start, even if you use calculators, we ended up doing our own just because
it's actually easier.
Yeah.
So back to the beginning, of 1,600 calories, you're getting 160 calories for your carbohydrates. 160 divided by 4 is 40 grams of carbohydrates. So what you're looking at is 124 grams of fat, 80 grams of protein, and 40 grams of carbohydrates a day in order to equal 1,600 calories of food a day. Once you get to those levels, when you're happy with where your macros are and
it's working
for you, and you understand that you can maintain that calorie level without a problem, you're not walking around starving to death and just wanting to raid everybody's refrigerator.
Which it may be that way at first. I had a heck of a time, and I was constantly hungry, so
but
I just ate
it
more.
It may have been that the calorie deficit was too much, and that's kind of why she wound up that way. But she's overcome it. She's doing very well without the excessive calories.
In fact, I'm
now.
having a hard time eating now. So.
Yeah. Once you've done all of this and you find out what your macros are, you have to check your ketone levels, find out whether you're in ketosis, and once you're in ketosis and fat adapted, then you can manipulate your percentages any way you'd like. Again, try not to go over the 50 grams of carbohydrates per day, because that may kick you out of ketosis and may stop your fat adaptation process, making you burn carbohydrates again.
Works different, so it may not.
Again, if you check your ketones and you know that you've got ketones being produced, it could very easily be, that you can go above 50 grams. They say you can go up to 100 grams and maintain ketosis, but you have to check and you'll have to make sure that your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
And your carbs have to come from the right places, of course. We cannot stress this enough. Yeah. I mean, your fat, your protein, your carbs, all of that needs to come from the right sources. If they don't, this is not going to work.
Right. You can't just eat, your carbs and raw sugar. It's not going to work out
pasta.
for you. Yeah. So, the end thing is that the ketogenic diet plus calorie restriction equals massive losses.
At the same time, there are people who say that that's not necessarily true for women specifically. It's all about you. It's all about your body. This is totally an individual thing.
Right.
I mean, you can't really say, unless you have trials.
You will try this. You'll find out what works for you. And hopefully, it'll work tremendously the way that it's worked for us. We have absolutely no complaints with how things have been going. Again, I'm down. I think that I'm I'm 75 or 76 days in right now. And I've already lost over 60 pounds.
Today's 19th. Today is your
90th day.
40th, or your 4 months, right?
I don't know.
February, March, April, 4 months.
Okay, so 4 months. I'm 4 months in, and like I said, I'm down 60 plus pounds. So, I'm not doing terrible. That's what I said. Yeah.
3 months. So,
Either way,
I mean,
I'm doing
down
very well as
45
far as I'm
pounds,
concerned.
Several inches.
She's losing 10 pounds a month. I'm losing 15.
And I'm not losing 10 pounds a month. It just, that first month I actually got a nice kick. But I've also incorporated exercise. So,
Right.
and I'm doing it on a nearly daily basis. I say nearly because most the work schedule. And we're very active at work.
Very.
So, our job is very physical. That tends to slow down your your scale. Again, we've said this a million times. Right. Don't watch the scale if you haven't started. Stay off of it.
It's a huge mistake
Do
because
it once
every
a month.
day, every day you get
or
upset
once
with
every
yourself.
2 weeks. Do your measurements. The measurements don't lie.
Yeah, they show the real story. No matter how you look at it, the measurements always show the real story. And I promised you guys pictures, but I'm not comfortable with them. So
I have gone from a size 16 to under a size 10. I don't want to say 8 because I haven't tried anything that's size 8 on yet. But I could probably do it. I just don't like wearing my clothes tight. So I do more of a 10 or 12.
I've gone down 2 pant sizes. So I went from a 48 down to a 44. So, that's showing, and that's just, the hip measurement because I wear my stuff down below my gut. We've run long. If you have any questions for us, you can leave them in the comments section on our webpage at ketocouplesjourney.com. You can leave them for us at our Facebook pages. There's Facebook at ketocouplesjourney.com. You can leave them on the YouTube site at ketocouplesjourney.com or on the Instagram site at ketocouplesjourney ATL, like Atlanta.
Sorry we haven't posted any food pictures or anything like that, but basically we're eating a steak and bacon and go to work.
Yeah, every single day. Or
some
pork
butter.
chops. But
pork chops.
that's about the size of it. If you have any questions, please, if you have any questions, please contact us. We'd be happy to hear from you, and we'd be happy to do anything that you need us to do to try and clarify anything that we can. Sorry it took a couple of weeks to get to the video, but, we're still going. We're not going to give up, and hopefully you're going to be along for the ride.
We're chasing the baby around constantly, which is the whole point of why we started doing this. Is she's a little faster, just because you're afraid of falling on her, but she's quick. So it has improved. Yes, we look tired, but our hours have been totally different than daytime hours, which is what we were used to prior to this. So we're up late nights and things like that, which we're getting kind of old. So I'm getting old. So.
All right, guys. Like I said, keep in touch. If you have any questions, holler at us. You can also hit us at ketocouplesjourney@gmail.com. I forgot that one. So enjoy the rest of your week, and
hopefully
we'll see you in a week or two.
Weather's as beautiful as ours is.
Yeah,
take care. Get outside. Take a walk.
Right on. Exercise the best you can. All right?
Or don't. That's fine too.
Enjoy your journey.
Bye.
See ya.